Hey, welcome to the Alex Gem Experience. Okay, let's dive in as per usual. Today's topic is all about self-sabotage. So firstly, this is essentially how the podcast is going to be structured. We're going to look at what self-sabotage is, essentially. Then we're going to look at some signs of self-sabotage. And then we're going to look at ways in which we can stop self-sabotage from taking place. So, firstly, what is self-sabotage? Well, I would define it, and it can be subjective, of course. I would define self-sabotage, and this is a form of hyperbole, I guess, but I would say self-sabotage is any form of self-destruction. Now, you might be thinking, whoa, Alex, calm yourself down, dude. Self-destruction. Isn't that a bit severe? Yeah, I guess so. There are so many different types of self-destruction. It can be quite mild, or it can be extremely deleterious to our happiness and health and so on. So we'll look at some examples of self-sabotage later, but we need to understand that sabotage is when there is some kind of... I would also clarify as being a form of like mistrust or some sort of deceit. And so therefore, if you incorporate self-deceit in there, it's kind of deceiving yourself and it's definitely a form of letting yourself down, and it's definitely linked to poor self-esteem, that's for sure. So people self-sabotage for many different reasons, and it can boil down to fear. I'll say that again. Self-sabotage can relate to our fears. And essentially, people self-sabotage not because they consciously want to. No sane person would say, yeah, I self-sabotage. I let myself down, or I live a crap life and because I want to. No one will admit that. But one of the reasons why people might self-sabotage is because their unconscious is getting the better of them. And by unconscious, don't let me put you off here. By unconscious, I'm essentially saying the way in which we've programmed ourselves. And yes, every single one of us have programmed ourselves to be a certain way in certain situations, right? In certain different areas in our lives. Now, we can, over time, change our subconscious programming through the habits that we live and the way that we can change our beliefs, and we'll move on to that later on in this podcast. But we need to understand that people self-sabotage because their unconscious is very strong, and our primitive brain, our most ancient brain, if you will, is the equivalent of a lizard's brain. It primarily functions to keep us as we are. So you can see our unconscious and our primitive brain kind of doubling up to prevent us from progressing in our lives. And it sounds really severe, but it's incredibly important for us to comprehend that this is what we do wittingly or unwittingly. So people might self-sabotage because they want to keep things the same way. Our brain wants familiarity. Our brain seeks familiarity. Therefore, it does not seek us to be happy. It seeks purely survival. And when we do something that's different, we are therefore entering the unknown. And our brain, whenever it enters the unknown, becomes fearful and wants to retract and go back to the way things were. The problem is, when we stay within our comfort zone for so long, we become bored, we lack variety, and we actually lower our self-esteem. So you might be surviving, but you are certainly not thriving. And so if you continue to listen to your negative unconscious, and if you continue to listen to your reptilian brain throughout most of your life, you will become depressed. It's just what happens. So therefore, the art of wanting to break through and to change our unconscious programs will enable us to be more, experience more short-term pain, because it's not easy to constantly break through barriers in lots of different ways. But in the end, guys, that's what leads to growth. That's what leads to challenge, and that's what leads to a stronger self-esteem in the long run. So now that you understand what self-sabotage is, now is a great opportunity to look at some signs of self-sabotage. So how do you know if you are self-sabotaging? Well, quite simply put, and this is a form of exaggeration, so take it with a pinch of salt, not progressing in important areas within your life can be a sign of self-sabotage. I'll paraphrase in my own words. If you feel like you haven't been improving in your life in areas that are important to you, whether it be your wealth, your health, your relationships, or at least if you are progressing at a staggeringly slow rate, then it's very much linked to self-sabotage. Because something's going amiss. Now, this is where things get a little bit complicated because there are so many different ways in which we can self-sabotage, right? Like procrastination, coming up with excuses, pointing the finger at others, not looking inwards, using the past to predict the future, and so on and so forth. There are so many different ways in which people can self-sabotage. But generally speaking, if you have not been able to realistically reach some of your targets in your life, then it's linked to self-sabotage. Now, if you're one of those crazy guys like I've fallen victim to in the past, and you set insanely unfair goals for yourself, and being extremely unrealistic about its possibility, then you need to be a bit more honest, a bit realistic, and a bit fairer. And Tony Robbins says it best. He goes, most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but they underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. And there is definitely some truth to that. But if you feel like you've been setting reasonably fair results, say, for example, to get a promotion at work within the next 2 to 3 years, like that makes sense. You have to do a lot of action. You have to work hard. You have to learn a lot and be mentored or coached in these areas, for example. But that seems quite fair. If you are thinking to yourself, I need to lose 10 pounds of fat this year, that is definitely doable. That is not unrealistic. However, if you are saying you need to become a billionaire within 2 years, well, whoa. That is incredibly difficult, and you're going to become incredibly exhausted, fatigued, and you're going to give up quickly because you're going to realize pretty soon that that's unattainable unless you win a lottery or get really, really fortuitous and lucky at doing something. So if you are setting realistic goals and you are nowhere near achieving them, then you're letting yourself down. There's no doubt about that. So if you aren't improving in important areas within your life, you are self-sabotaging. The second sign that you are self-sabotaging is what I call the victim syndrome. I write about this extensively and meticulously in my book, The Art of Power, Happiness and Success. It's also within my course, which you can get at my website at www.alexgem.com. Just click join PHS today. That's my paid online advanced course. You're going to love it. Go check it out. But during these products of mine, I really go into what the victim syndrome is. And to put it quite succinctly and concisely, it's essentially when you blame others and when you never point inwards. And people often do this because of their egos. They often always point the finger at others to justify their current situation. But deep down, it's often is their ego running amok, but really it's because deep down they believe that they can't achieve or don't deserve the things that they actually want. So what is an example of the victim syndrome? The victim syndrome is if I said to someone, why don't you have a good relationship with your partner? And they go, oh, well, 5 years ago, my partner did this and it really hurt my feelings. I haven't been able to forgive them. And I say, okay, why else isn't the relationship with your partner at a very promising position? And they might go, well, it's our children. They can be really, really difficult, man. I don't have special time with my partner anymore and it's making our relationship messed up. Never. Okay, I understand. So why else might your relationship be messed up? You go, oh, man, I was meant to be given a lot of money in my inheritance and that would have made life a lot easier for me. But I didn't get what I thought I deserved. And it's made life really difficult for our marriage. In these instances, the person is completely pointing outwards. Everyone else is to blame, but not them. And this is often a sign of self-sabotage, but it's one where your ego is in full swing. And, most people I know who suffer from the victim syndrome are incredibly selfish people and also tend to be depressed. A lot of depressed people I know are often very much selfish because the quickest way out of depression is to be giving and to share and help others in their situations. But anyway, that's for another podcast on a different day. So the victim syndrome can be a sign of self-sabotage. What's another reason why someone might self-sabotage? If someone keeps making the same mistakes, I've heard people talk to me in different contexts about making the same mistakes. I've heard people, oftentimes women, say to me, I keep falling for the wrong type. I don't know why the woman would have that kind of voice. I apologize. But let me give you a more realistic version. I just can't. I keep attracting the wrong type of guy. I can't believe it. It just keeps happening to me. What's wrong? That was much better. But the reason why people tend to keep making the same mistakes is because firstly, they keep attracting the same kind of mistakes. They keep repeating the same pattern. So the pattern's the same, but the person or the topic might differ. Okay, this is really important. Because our unconscious programs are so that if we are used to experience, and I call this the emotional home. I write about this in my book and my courses as well. But your emotional home is really your default mode, the main emotion you experience throughout the day, most days. And you look to experience this emotion where possible. And the actual variables can be taken out. For instance, if, an ex-partner can be taken out and you'll start to date someone who kind of resembles that same person because you're repeating the same unconscious program. It's not the partner that's the problem, it's you. And, sometimes I don't really say that to the woman, but it's the truth. So if you are someone who seems to keep making the same sort of mistakes and you're not learning from your mistakes, it may very well have to do with you sabotaging your own success. So it's always worthwhile to take a moment to ponder your past, to think about what kind of errors you made. And we all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. It's just that I rarely make it a second time. And the reason why I make a lot of mistakes is because I'm always challenging myself. And I'm always pushing myself. And I kind of give myself space, in a way, to make mistakes when I do embark on a new journey, a new project, because I know that I'm not going to get it right immediately. And that's my mechanism for keeping on track and being resilient, because I gave myself space to not fail necessarily, but to learn. But people, maybe they can't identify the mistakes that they can continue to make. They can't quite spot that pattern. As Tony Robbins again calls it a blind spot. And this tends to be because of our egos, and we're not being objective in our thinking enough. We're not reflecting on how come I am attracting the wrong partner all the time. What's happening here? What am I doing? What procedure am I following? How do I find these people? How do I build a relationship with them in a way that kind of turns out to resemble the bad experiences of the past? So people tend to make the same mistakes if their ego is in full swing and they are not very good at self-reflecting. So maybe things like meditation, getting other people's insights, being coached, being mentored. This person needs to do some deep diving into their own unconscious, really. And it can be hard, but it's why you need to constantly learn, push yourself, and get other people's support. And people who keep making the same mistakes tend to have problems with their emotional intelligence. They might be very intelligent indeed, but maybe their emotional intelligence is not up to speed. So people self-sabotage when they make the same mistakes over again. Let's move on to the next part. So the fourth way in which someone could self-sabotage is when someone seems to constantly be reactive in their lives. And they kind of feel like they're always doing things last minute and that they're never on top of things. Now, don't get me wrong. Life is tough. We can't always predict the future. It's just not the way it is. There are some unforeseeable things that will come our way, and sometimes we'll need to just address these issues and move on. But there's a reason why some people make time for important things in their lives, whereas others seem to be constantly reactive, dodging bullets, so to speak, and constantly being reactive. It's because they are not in control of their focus. They are not in control of their attention. They are easy to distract. And therefore easy to persuade. They are very docile. And this is very dangerous. Very dangerous indeed. So if someone is constantly being reactive, they tend to be like a sheep. They tend to always be following the herd, not knowing what's going on exactly. These people are highly obsessed with the media, with celebrity culture, very obsessed with social networking, constantly preoccupied with their appearance, their reputation. I don't mean to stereotype, but hey, I guess I am. So someone who is constantly being reactive, there's one way that we can combat this, and it's to make sure that when we wake up, we do not give our attention to the external world. We give our attention to ourselves. And what do I mean by that? Well, the worst thing that most people do is when they wake up, they give attention to their phones, right? They go on social networking platforms. They go straight on WhatsApp. They'll go on the internet and, check out what's going on in the news. And they are constantly getting used to giving their attention away to others. These are people who tend to be manipulated by the marketplace very easily. And they therefore do not have time to work on the things that they want to do because they're constantly giving away their attention frivolously. So one way to practice not being reactive is to wake up and for the first hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you can wait, essentially focus your attention on yourself. Now that can be in the form of meditation, can be in the form of exercising, writing out your goals, journaling, being creative, reflecting upon your life, writing in your diary, essentially giving the first few moments of your day to you. Okay? Thinking about what you're appreciative for, what you're grateful for, and so on and so forth. So it's very important to be in command of what we focus on and to have undivided attention. Winners are able to focus when things are going right and also when things are going wrong. So let's move on. Another way in which people can self-sabotage is when they kind of start lots of different things and projects, but never actually finish them. And I'm not going to lie, this was certainly something I suffered from for many years in my early 20s. Definitely. Because I'm quite creative and I like coming up with things and I'm quite innovative, I'll constantly come up with great ideas. Oh, this would work, and I might start some of them and then and jump easily onto the next one without really completing projects, completing my ideas and so on, and making it a reality. And this is probably my biggest form of self-sabotage, if I'm being honest. And it's a program for sure. It's something that you've taught yourself to do. And one way that you can change this form of self-sabotage is to practice leaving things better than you found them. So I learned this from the brilliant Jim Rohn. He said, practice leaving things in better condition than when you found them. So there are so many minuscule things you can be doing to work toward this. It could be when you are finished doing your bed in the morning, or when you're walking around in your office and there might be plastic bottles on the floor or tissues on the floor, and you pick it up and you improve the area. Or, someone's lost or struggling and they clearly need help with something, and you quickly chime in and support them. It's and I do it in my relationships, my romantic relationships in the past as well. I've always made it a point to end it positively, whether I was happy with what happened, or whether I was the one ending the relationship or the relationship was being ended with me. Either way, I made it a point to end it on a rather positive tone, okay? And these are lots of different things that you can practice doing. Always leave things in a better state, in a better condition. And practice completing things. And it can be small projects, guys. It can be something small like when you're in the gym and you're doing a workout and you are meant to complete, 5 different exercises. You're meant to do 4 sets of 5 different exercises. And, some people might think in the midst of their workout, I've done 3 exercises, completed 4 sets of them. That's enough for me today. But if you knew beforehand that you are meant to do 5 different exercises for 4 sets, then you need to follow through. You need to complete it. You need to get the job done. And step up, essentially. Raise your standards. And it happened with me when I wrote my first ever book. I remember as an English teacher in my early 20s, the very first job I got. After about 2-3 years of working there, I realised that I would love to be a writer, and I was massively inspired by lots of promising people, unbelievable people, my role models. Especially, I remember Dr. Wayne Dyer, who really positively impacted me and made me such a calmer, more peaceful, more giving person. And I was so inspired by his work, and I was starting to come up with my own ideas, and I was starting to elaborate on his ideas. And I was like, I'm quite a calm person, especially for my age. I'm learning so much, and I'm beginning to change some of habits and some perspectives that I have. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a book. So I started to write this book. And pretty much every day, during my lunch breaks, especially after work for a couple of hours, I would dedicate those hours for actually working on my book. And this happened consecutively for 3-4 months. I was working really hard. I was really enjoying it. I was totally getting in the zone. I was immersed, obsessed, loving it. And then a few things happened. I had to make a couple of tough decisions at the time. I was thinking, all this energy I'm giving to be a writer, is it really going to work out? Am I kidding myself? And all this kind of inner dialogue took over, right? As you can imagine. And not just that, I thought maybe I should be realistic. At the same time, I also wanted to get promoted within my profession. So I wanted to be responsible for improving the curriculum and have a certain remit and responsibility that you got paid like 5 or 6 grand more for. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to focus on getting my first promotion within my job instead. So I kind of put the book aside and worked on my promotion. I got promoted and so on and so forth, and I got promoted again thereafter. Things were going well in terms of my career as a teacher. But when I made that decision, I kind of gave up on my dream at that point. And I didn't follow through with my project. I didn't finish writing the book that I wanted to write. And in a way, even though I understood why I didn't do it, I kind of lost faith in myself when I gave up writing that book. And I said to myself, I'll get back to it. And because of the amount of discipline and hard work I've been able to develop over the years, and because I've been able to learn what I'm sharing with you today, I knew that, and I learned so much more material over those years. I went back to work on that book. And I worked on it for many, many months more. And I'm so proud to say that turned out to be my favourite book. And it's entitled The Art of Power, Happiness and Success. The quality in that book, not only did I finish writing that book, and I've impacted so many people, it gave me the impetus to use that as like a springboard to create an incredible course to help people to develop their self-esteem, to become more successful, to develop their inner power, to be stronger, happier, healthier. And then I completed that course, and so on and so forth, and I just kept on creating and finally started to follow through on a grander scale as well along the way. But I share this with you because you should never give up on your dream. So if you tend to start lots of different things, but you never seem to follow through, the main reason why that's happening is because you are self-sabotaging. And deep down, you don't believe you deserve what you want. You are holding yourself back. And now I'd like to move on to another sign of self-sabotage. And I know a lot of people who do this one. But it's when people kind of waste their resources. So what do I mean by wasting resources? Well, I think people invest in lots of different ways in whatever's important to them. Now, by investing, I mean they invest their physical and mental energy, their emotional energy, their spiritual energy. They invest their money, their finances, and they invest their time. And I think people self-sabotage massively by wasting their investments. They waste their energy, they waste their money, they waste their time. So what do I mean by wasting their energy? What's a form of self-sabotage? Well, if you are someone who seems to consistently find themselves in some form of conflict, now this could be conflict with your co-workers, your boss, it could be conflict with your friends, it could be conflict with your partner, your spouse, it could be conflict with your siblings, with family. If you are someone who seems to be getting involved in arguments, in confrontations, in constantly going back to the past. Oh, you did this to me 10 years ago. That's why I can't forgive you. And You are living in the past, therefore you are being run by your ego, and therefore you are giving away your vital energy. And it's down to us to take back control. Because another synonym for energy is really focus. We need to keep our focus. We need to stay on the right path. Because if we don't, someone else will take our energy. They'll take our vital force. And in turn, will force their own motivations upon us. So another thing that people waste is obviously their money. Now, I appreciate that we all need some kind of variety and fun and outlet for our finances. I get that. And what I notice is that the more stressful our jobs are, or the more we dislike our jobs, the more we tend to spend. And oftentimes on unimportant things, if we're being honest. So what I notice is that people will find a way to waste the majority of their money because they don't have a plan, because they don't have a purpose, and because they are self-sabotaging. So for me, if you are someone who knows where they should be putting their money, whether it be a particular savings account, whether it be a pot for saving up for certain investments, whether it be saving money to reinvest in your business, your company, or to go on courses to develop high income skills and become better within your current profession. If you are spending money on things that do not support you, that costs a lot of money, or that tots up over time and doesn't support your health, your wealth, your relationships, then you are certainly self-sabotaging here. And lastly, if you are someone who wastes their time, then you are certainly self-sabotaging. Now, I'm the extreme. I'm the complete opposite. I'm an absolute productive freak. If anything, maybe I should chill out a little bit more. But I am extremely productive. My time is extremely valuable. And the way I see it is, if it's not going to make me healthier in terms of like exercising, eating the right sort of food, sleeping, if it's not making me healthier, if it's not improving my wealth, if it's not going to help me with my passive income streams or my active income streams or whatever it is, if it's not going to help my business grow, or if it's not going to improve the quality of my most meaningful relationships, then I don't want to know. I do not want to give my time to things that do not support my key areas of focus. Now, that's just me. Now, if I'm stuck in a certain place for whatever reason, then I'm absolutely happy to be Mr. Sociable and Gregarious and talk to different people about meaningless things. But if I'm not stuck and if I don't have to be there, then I tend to do what I can to maximize the efficacy and efficiency of what I am doing or where I can go. It's just the way I am. I need to get stuff done. And I take this maybe to extremes, as I said, but a lot of people will kind of waste away their day and will end up looking back, reflecting upon their day and going, oh my God, I didn't get much done today. Well, no shit. Maybe you shouldn't have spoken to the receptionist for 2 hours. Maybe you shouldn't have called your friend and spoken with them for 3 hours. Maybe you didn't need to watch that YouTube video that lasted 45 minutes when you knew you had other things to do. Take your time seriously. Because if you don't take your time seriously, then other people won't value their time. And with me, like, I'm really strict. I'm like this with my friends. When I used to go on dates, like, I used to be like this as well. If someone's messing with my time, then I cancel. If I feel like people aren't being appreciative of my time, I cancel the event, the meetup. Because it's my way of being congruent with myself. It's my way of valuing my time. And time is money. And I know how much I'm worth and how much I can get paid every hour. So even when I'm not technically working, I value as me time that could be worth a lot of money. So I need you to consider how you're being wasteful. And you know what? I don't always get it right. I'm sometimes wasteful as well. I'm just very careful, and I pick my moments to be wasteful. So consider where you're being wasteful, how you can be more effective, more productive, how you can maximize your time, your energy, your finances, and start pushing those three things and investing them in areas that support things that are important to you, whether it be your relationships, your wealth, your income, your health, your physical shape, or whatever is really important to you, whether it be supporting certain charities, partaking in certain hobbies that you absolutely love, that brings you so much joy, doing things for your children, and so on and so forth. So those are signs that we can self-sabotage. Whenever we procrastinate, we are self-sabotaging. Whenever we're being wasteful, we are self-sabotaging. Whenever we are being bored, we are self-sabotaging. Whenever we are consistently pressing the snooze button in the mornings, we are self-sabotaging. Whenever we go out, when we knew we had things to do, we are self-sabotaging. Pick your moments, guys. Plan most of them. Some of you are probably listening, you're going, hey man, life is about being spontaneous and impulsive, man. You got to live life. You got to do things. To an extent, yes. There is nothing wrong with once or twice a month to do things that weren't planned, to just go, you know what, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to do something fun. It might set me back a little bit in terms of how productive I am, but hey, we only live life once. I need to treat myself. I need some variety in my life to keep the fire burning. So in that case, I agree. But if you are someone who seems to be spontaneous every night, I was like, oh my God, I went out with my friends last night, and the night before that, oh my God, I went on a date, and the night before that, oh my God, I don't know what happened. I got carried away. We watched 5 movies, man. We need to be more responsible. I'm being honest. Now let's move on. So now that we've looked at what self-sabotage is, now that we've looked at signs of self-sabotage, it's now time to look at how we can stop self-sabotage. So firstly, let's start off. We need to develop our confidence, because one of the main reasons why we self-sabotage, like I said earlier, is because we have low self-esteem. We don't genuinely believe in ourselves. So we need to rewire the neural patterns in our brain. We need to change our beliefs. And there are so many activities and tasks we can do to develop our self-esteem, to stop ourselves from self-sabotaging. And one of them is to write down the many wonderful things that you can appreciate about yourself. And you need a seriously long list here. So at least over 10, ideally over 20 different things that you appreciate about yourself. Now, if you can't think of many things that you appreciate about yourself, then you can at least think of when times when people have complimented you. If people compliment you on your body, it's because you are clearly doing things right as it relates to your eating and your exercise and your sleep and so on and so forth. If a lot of people laugh at your jokes, then you are clearly funny or charismatic. If people like listening to you and you find yourself at meetings and whenever you talk, everyone's like listening to you attentively, it can be because you are quite authoritative and they value what you have to say. If you are great with your fashion or coming up with ideas, or you're great at marketing, for instance, then you are clearly creative. And on and on and on. If you do quite well with physical activities, then you might be athletic. If you wake up consistently every morning, you get stuff done, you are clearly productive and disciplined, and so on and so forth. So, like, if you want to pause this podcast, go for it. I really recommend you write this list out. If you can't do it because you're being too shy or you don't know what your strengths are, get someone else to tell you what some of your strengths are. It will really, really develop your confidence and make you feel good, and improve your relationships as well. So definitely create a list of things that you are grateful for, things that you appreciate. Next, if you are self-sabotaging, it might be because you are not living up to expectations of the people you look up to. So take a moment to consider, what do your role models do? What activities do they partake in? How do they think? What perspectives do they have? And all you need to do really is create the same habits. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with revolutionary things in order to succeed in life. You just need to study the people who excel in areas that are important to you. And you need to find ways to make time for them every single day, and to learn and to research and to grow. So one way that you can stop yourself from self-sabotaging is to note what successful people do and to essentially do them. I'll tell you another way in which you can stop yourself from self-sabotaging. You can learn to meditate. Very easy thing. Between 10 to 15 minutes every single day is all it takes. Sit down in silence. Focus on your breathing. Just focus on breathing in and breathing out. Pay attention to the space between your inhale and exhale. Visualize your stomach expanding as you breathe. Visualize the air going through your lungs, and so on and so forth. This is how you can meditate. Visualize yourself being successful. Be perceptive of the thoughts that come to your mind and let it go. Like floating clouds. Just push them aside calmly. Learn to meditate, to sit upright, still. No senses. You can listen to soft meditative music for sure. But just be objective. View your thoughts and then center yourself back on your breathing. This will enable you to develop what's known as neuroplasticity. Because when you meditate, you are able to kind of poke at your beliefs, and that enables you to start the process of restructuring your thought processes. Okay? So meditation is a great practice to overcome self-sabotage. Similarly linked to this is to perform affirmations and incantations. So an affirmation is just when you think to yourself positive things. I am strong. I am positive. I deserve what I want in my life. I am attractive. I am loving. I am giving. I am responsible. I am confident, and so on and so forth. Those are affirmations. When you repeat these things over time, you condition yourself to believe them. Because that's what a belief is, guys. A belief is simply reinforcing thoughts. It's a neural pattern in your brain that has been strengthened over time by constantly revisiting it. So you can, in the car when you're driving, or when you're on the ground, on the trains, wherever it is, you can develop affirmations by thinking positive things to yourself over and over again. Now, you can take that to the extreme, which is what I like to do because I'm an extremist. I like to use incantations. That's when you say these same affirmations, but you literally say aloud with serious power. And you might want to use what's called anchoring. I'm not going to go into that too much in this podcast. And you put your body into what you say. So you might slap your chest, or you might clap your hands, or you might give a fist pump when you say these powerful things. I deserve success. I am a winner. I always find a way to achieve. So affirmations and incantations are one of the very best ways to condition yourself to move toward the things that you want. So you can steer clear of distractions. That's another method, guys, to avoid self-sabotage. It kind of links back to what I was sharing earlier about being reactive. And one way that I like to do this is to kind of make things very much black or white. Like for me, I'll give you the analogy of my eating program. I eat healthily 90% of the time. Okay, I will have a cheat meal or a cheat a few hours once a week or once every 10 days. That is what I do. It's very black and white. I know what foods constitute being unhealthy, and I know what foods and drinks constitute being healthy. And I never blur the lines. So what's an example of a grey area? A grey area is, lean meat, lean chicken is good for you. But I really fancy fried chicken wings. That's nice. But that's a grey area, isn't it? Because it's fried food and it's therefore really unhealthy for us. So keep things black and white. Is it a distraction if you allow yourself to, be on the phone with someone you're dating or with a friend or a family member for several hours? Of course it is. It's unless it's your designated time with your family member, but it's unnecessary to talk with them on the phone for that substantial amount of time. You do not want to distract yourself. You do not want to procrastinate. So it's very important to write another list. I love my list, guys. On the left-hand side of your list, you're going to write down things that you do when you know you are on track, when you know you are being productive, when you know you are on your mission. And on the right-hand side, you're going to want to write down things that you do, and if you do them, you know you are distracting, you are procrastinating. Could be being on the phone, it could be overeating, it could be watching your shows, it can be masturbation, it can be sex, it can be indulging in addictions like betting too much and gambling, it can be arguing with people or watching too many drama shows or whatever. So many different ways in which we can distract ourselves. So just be aware of this. Getting involved in gossip and constantly caring about what other people are doing. Oh, she said that, did she? What a bitch. Sorry about that. But, these are forms of distractions, guys, that we need to steer clear from. Like I said, we need to identify what is good for us and what isn't so that we can stay on track. We also, and this is a great strategy that will definitely help you to stay on track and to move toward achieving your goals, whatever they may be. And it is to get into close proximity with success. So it could be to literally, and Grant Cardone said this brilliantly. I love it when he says this. He goes, move toward the money. And one of the reasons why Grant Cardone doesn't want to live in a certain area and own his own house, he likes to rent really amazing houses because he likes to move to where money is being pumped. He wants to move to where the rich people are. He needs to move to where all the thriving businesses are located. because there's something very much linked to being in close proximity with success, guys. Robert Kiyosaki says it in a different way. He has an analogy with gold. He says that if you acquire gold and buy gold in different forms and you keep it, he says that something happens, and it's almost maybe, I don't know if spiritual is the right word to use, but there's something to owning gold that just enables you to channel richer thoughts and therefore create a richer, wealthier existence. So, if these brilliant, highly successful and wealthy people are saying and have different versions of being in close proximity to success, then we should pay attention to it, guys. So you might want to consider where you live and whether you need to move. You might want to consider who you are around. Like they say, your average income is very much similar to your 5 closest friends. And I think that applies in many different ways and not just in terms of wealth. But be conscious of your friendships. Be conscious of where you live. Be conscious of choosing your right partner. Because if you have visions of being highly successful and wealthy, but a potential partner is just happy-go-lucky, doesn't really care about wealth and this sort of things, then there is a massive disparity and it might not work out long term. So take your partner seriously, take your friendship seriously, take where you live seriously. And this leads me nicely on to my next point, which is essentially get a mentor, get a coach, guys. Because you want to constantly be in the shadow of your role models. It might be expensive, that's for sure. I've spent a lot of money being mentored by really successful people in different areas in their lives. And because I put my money where my mouth is, I'm going to listen and hang on to every word, especially if I believe in what they say. So get a mentor. It is worth the money. They all say it. That Dan Locke says it. All these really successful people are always saying it. Get a mentor. It's one of the key ingredients to success. So it doesn't have to be a mentor as it relates to monetary value. It could be a mentor as it relates to your physical health or mental health for that matter. It could be a mentor as it relates to people just being really happy in their lives and always seeming to have great energy levels and having great self-esteem. Have them be your mentor. Like if you want to be mentored by me, then that can happen as well. So take a moment to reflect on who could be your mentor, what's possible, and when you can start to make this happen. Next is to be accountable. And it's kind of linked to the last 2 points that I've made. You want to be responsible. And a lot of people find it easy to lie to themselves because of their ego, like I said near the start of the podcast. But there are some people who they don't mind lying to themselves, but they don't want to lie to the people they love most. And these are the people you are going to want to tell what your goals and your ambitions are, because you don't want to let them down. So I highly recommend that you take a moment to reflect upon who are the people you love most, who are the people you respect most in your life. And you need to make bold promises to them. It could be, listen, Susie, I promise, this is my goal. I will lose 10 pounds of fat in the next 4 months. It's going to happen. And you can genuinely ask them to keep you on track and to support you in different ways. And this could apply to a complete diverse array of ways. So bear that in mind. Next, you're going to want to be consistent. Consistency is key. Consistency involves taking massive action every single day. And it makes you disciplined, guys. When you are disciplined, it increases your self-esteem big time. Next, maybe have a big enough why. Maybe one of the reasons why you are self-sabotaging is because you aren't inspiring yourself enough. So have a big enough why. Why do you want to become fitter, healthier, stronger? Why do you want to make more money? Why do you want to get that promotion? Why do you want to start your business? Why do you want to date a certain type of person? Know why. What will it do to you? How will it make you feel? What will it enable you to achieve? Will it make you feel significant, loved, accepted, appreciated? Will it make you feel in control of your life, and so on and so forth? Take a moment to reflect on this, because this is key here. Because you need to stay on track. You need to stay focused. Next, and it's linked to it, is the pleasure and pain principle. You need to associate more pleasure with taking action than pain. It's a must. And it needs to be truthful. Deep down there, for instance, you need to associate more pleasure with making more money and being able to take control of your life and having that financial freedom than the pain of all that hard work of doing those actions and so on and so forth. You need to link more pleasure, because that's the only way that you're going to sustain this energy, guys, and keep going forward. Next, we need to love what we do. Because we don't want to always be thinking, what if it doesn't work out? If you don't love your job, if you don't love your business, if you don't love what you do most of the day, then something is wrong. You need to change your lifestyle. You might need to change your job. You might need to leave the business or focus on a certain product or service within that company. You might need to channel your energy in different areas. You need to love what you do. Because, like, when I started my businesses, I loved what I was doing so much that even if it didn't work, and I worked very hard to convince myself that it would, but even if it didn't work, I was thinking to myself, would I still be satisfied or even proud if I invested thousands of hours on my businesses, but if it didn't work out? If people weren't appreciating what I was offering, or if people didn't know about it, or if it didn't work out the way I thought it would it still be okay? Because if it's not, then you're not going to be consistent, guys. So we need to be even more disciplined. Because if I'm being honest with you, self-sabotage is linked to our self-esteem and low self-esteem. And these things might be deeply rooted. It might be because of trauma. It might be because you're focused on the past. It might be because you had a difficult childhood and people let you down. It might be because you have limiting beliefs. Maybe your parents taught you to have low self-esteem, to be really harsh on yourself. It might be because your ex-partner took away all your confidence, and so on and so forth. So really pay attention to why you might be self-sabotaging, how this could be linked to low self-esteem. Because the more disciplined and dedicated you are, the more you will respect yourself. And that's how I'd like to end this powerful podcast. So if you found this podcast beneficial, you might want to go check out my website at www.alexgem.com. You can get my books at the Alex Gem store, so www.alexgemstore. You can get my books on Amazon as well. If you're on my website, you'll definitely want to check out my courses. All you have to do is click where it says join. It depends what your needs are, to be honest. I mean, if you want to improve your physical shape, then click where it says join SPM today, Six Pack Mind today. Enter your credit card details. You'll gain instant access to my course and the incredible bonuses there. Same thing for if you are single and you want to essentially become better. And if you want to become happier, to develop your self-esteem, become more empowered, become more successful in every key important area within your life, then check out where it says click join PHS today. You might even want to consider joining our mastermind if you truly want to dig in deep and uncover the things that have been preventing you from improving the quality of your lives. Join the Power Mastermind. We're going to be able to strengthen your existing strengths and add fuel to where you are currently doing really well. We're going to find out where you're currently letting yourself down and eliminate or significantly reduce those problem areas. We're going to overcome our fears and the obstacles currently in our way. We're going to find out why we are the way in which we are. We're going to develop our motivation and resilience. And we're going to actually come up with a plan as to how you can schedule the next few months or years of your life so you can leave this mastermind with a clear vision. And you're going to learn some pretty insightful things that will make a massive shift in your life. So you can get that at my website as well, the Power Mastermind. What else do we have for you? Currently working on developing a university for helping people to become happier, more successful, more empowered, and so on and so forth. That is incredible, where I work to you one-on-one, very much NLP driven, working on how you communicate with yourself, how to build rapport with others, how to utilize your body language, how to communicate with yourself and others, how you could be channeling your energy, how to structure your day. Like, we're going to be taking you through positive practices. We're going to be learning how to meditate, how to exercise, how to keep yourself stronger, why the importance of sleep and how we can improve sleep. Like, oh my God, the content in this university is going to be astounding. I can't wait to share that with you also. Feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Alex Gem. Just type in Alex Gem. You'll be able to find my channels. Click whatever one you want to work on. You can find me on Instagram, AlexGem_power. Follow me, send me a DM. I'll be in contact with you soon. You can find my Facebook pages, in particular, PHS, Power, Happiness, Success. Follow, like the page, join the Facebook group. We share content on a regular basis. You'll absolutely be blown away by the community, the love, the sharing, and the constant progression that we do there. And guys, I'm so proud of you. Well done for listening. I hope you made some serious notes. I hope you've left this podcast feeling more energized, knowing what you can do to press forward and being able to identify when you could be self-sabotaging and to prevent yourself from doing it in the future. And I can't wait to see you soon. Stay strong, guys. Take care.